Hello and welcome to Take Time. I am your host, Patrick Marlett, and today I have a very special review. As a matter of fact, this is one I've been requested to do ever since this watch was announced. In my hand, I'm holding the Monta Atlas. Before I begin the video, please note that this is only a prototype of the Monta Atlas, and of course this is only being lent in to the show for review. Orders for the Monta have yet to begin. However, there are pre-orders being taken currently. The full retail price of this Monta Blue Dial variant on Bracelet will be about $1,795 directly from Monta's website. Of course, there's a pre-order discount of $1,615, again, if you purchase the watch on said Bracelet, with order shipping August 2019. However, so far as I know, everything about this prototype is accurate to what the end product will be, so keep that in mind as we go through the review today. The Monta Atlas will come in 3 different dial variants. The Monta Blue we have in today, an opaline silver dial, as well as a charcoal dial. The blue and silver are a lacquered finish, while the charcoal is a sun ray finish. And of course, I don't have any other bracelet options in with me, but there are 6 in total, a series of fitted leather straps as well as a black rubber strap alongside the metal bracelet we have in. So how is the Monta Atlas on a day-to-day basis? Well, after living with a watch for about 2 weeks now, I can say it's very much similar to the rest of Monta's lineup. So if you're a fan of the brand, that's a very good thing. Now, as I do with all my reviews, why don't we start with the bad and then move on to the good before I give my final verdict on the Monta Atlas. The Monta Atlas is 38.5 millimeters wide and roughly 47.5 millimeters from lug end to lug end. The case measures 10.2 millimeters thick from the top of that crystal to the back of this display case back and features 20 millimeter lug widths. The 316L stainless steel chassis of the Monta Atlas is rated to 150 meters of water resistance with a screw-down crown at the 3 o'clock position. Up top, we have a sapphire crystal with 7 layers of anti-reflective coating on the interior of that glass, and just below that gorgeous Monta Blue dial is a Sellita SW330 regulated to plus or minus 5 seconds a day. And for all those Loom junkies out there, the Monta Atlas handset and dial are adorned with Swiss Luminova BGW9. Now, any dial setup for this watch will start at $1,410 on pre-order. Now, my first bad note in regards to the Monta Atlas, and this is going to sound like a weird one, is that the watch tends to disappear on the wrist. Though the case and bracelet are made out of stainless steel, the total package is very light on the wrist. And if you're the type of person who likes to wear their watches extremely casually while they're in a work environment, this might get a little banged up. And what's funny is that my prototype here has seen a little bit of wear to it, and I'm assuming that's partially due to the fact that you really do forget that it's on your wrist, and that lack of perception can cause you to occasionally hit a door sill. Now, I didn't personally add any of the nicks, scratches, dings, or dents you see on this Monta prototype, and this is mostly directed at Monta, I guess, but I have similarly wearing watches, and I don't really baby my pieces, and I do tend to bang my watches against objects, and this is one of those ones that will get lost on the wrist, and if you're careless like me, you'll likely dig it up, so that may or may not be a negative. However, if you like something that vanishes on the wrist, well then, this is right for you. There is another element to this watch that tends to vanish, and those are the markers of the in-between hours. You'll notice that there are little red indicators between our 24-hour scales hours, the 23 and 1 there's a little red rectangle, and all the way across. Those are marking the in-between hours. Now that red is very similar to the red of the Atlas text at the 6 o'clock position. However, the red of the 24-hour hand is slightly brighter. I prefer the contrast of the red GMT hand as opposed to that sort of blood red of the Atlas and Rehaut. I'd prefer if the rectangles had a little bit more contrast to the sort of dark sun ray finish blue of the Rehaut. It'd be nice if those in-between indicators stood out just a little bit more. And if you're on their website, you'll notice that the Monta Blue dial's rectangular markers stand out just a little bit more. That's because, well, 1, they're larger in that rendering, and 2, they're punchier because of the brightness of the red color tone. Now, again, this is a prototype. I don't know if this is what the end product will look like. However, I feel like they could be brightened. The saturation could be brightened just a little bit on those red markers. Now, is this absolutely necessary? Well, no, but I personally feel like there could have been just a little bit more contrast with those indicators. And you let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Is it just me, or do you feel like those could punch out just a little bit more? And this is a good place to put it because Monta is very good at taking their customer feedback. So feel free to leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. And my last note on the Monta Atlas, and this is more of a neutral note, as a lot of you always ask about this, the clasp on this watch isn't going to feature the ratcheting system that's found on the Ocean King. This is very much similar to what you'll find on the Triumph and or Sky Quest. It's not going to ratchet to micro adjust on the fly. You will need a tool to adjust these micro layers. And I know for a lot of people, they'd like to just see the modified clasp on every unit. Unfortunately, we don't get that with the Atlas. It is to my understanding, though, that if you do own an Ocean King, these are interchangeable, or they should be. So don't quote me there, but I'm fairly positive you can just switch the clasp out. If you happen to own an Ocean King and want to switch to your Atlas, then it shouldn't be an issue, but it won't come stock standard with that clasp. However, sizing for any Monta watch I've had in has never been an issue, to include the Ocean King, Gen 1 Ocean King I own. The clasp that these are provided with are absolutely excellent, and that's really where I want to start with our good notes. I want to talk about the bracelet and clasp for the Atlas. Again, this system is similar to what you'll find with the Triumph and Sky Quest. If you know and love that bracelet, you'll love this one. I like how balanced the clasp end is with the watch head, and this is part of why it gets lost on the wrist, because one, the watch head is very light, the links are nice solid steel and light, and the clasp is well balanced in length with the watch head. So when it's sized perfectly, it barely shifts on your wrist, so you do lose track of it, and that vanishing act can actually be favorable at times. It's thin, light, and only there when you need it, even when you happen to bang it up against the occasional door hinge, which I haven't. This is absolutely lovely on the wrist. The wearability is just above all the other Montas I've had on the wrist. I will state that the Monta Triumph's wearability is on par with the Atlas due to their similarities in case design, although there are a few differences, and we discussed those in our Take Time Talking Topics segment, but the thickness of this watch is slightly thicker, obviously due to the SW330 inside, and of course the dial face sans numerals and with applied markers, the Rehat that's numbered out with a 24-hour indicator, and of course the bezel itself is slightly enlarged to give it a more dressy appeal with those high polished beveled edges. And while we're talking about the case here, if you have a chance, I'll encourage you to visit a wind-up fair near you. There are yearly events held by Worn and Wound, and they're a great way to experience all the offerings from various micro brands. But if you've never taken in a Monta in person, it becomes immediately apparent how well these cases are made as soon as you have one in hand. Monta's case and bracelet manufacturing and detailing is on par with the likes of Longines, Oris, any other mid-tier luxury brand in that $2,000 category. That's why it has that price tag. You're just getting a better case and bracelet. And on that note, the bracelet on this watch is impeccable. I have it on my Ocean King Mark I. It's the same type of fold-over oyster link bracelet with all independent links, and it's a joy. It's just a joy on the wrist. And is it absolutely essential that your bracelet can do this? Is this critical? No, but it's lovely when you have it on the wrist because it just folds over the curves of your wrist perfectly. Again, wearability is through the roof, and that bracelet is a large part of it. Now, why don't we talk about some of those critical details that are important to us watch collectors, that of the styling of the case, handset, and dial. And what we have here is a thoroughbred Monta. This is akin to not only the Ocean King, but the Sky Quest and the Triumph with its case styling. The handset, much like the rest of their lineup, has an hour hand that falls just shy of those enlarged 3, 6, 9, and 12 markers, and I'm including the frame here in that measurement. I do like how this lines up. I know a lot of folks would prefer that hour hand sweep the hour marker, but I like how it falls just shy. It gives you a little bit better view of that enlarged minute hand. And speaking of, the minute hand brushes right over top of those minute markers, so legibility is king when you're taking in this dial. And of course, the GMT hand extends just past the minute hand's length and providing us a clear indication of what hour it is on our 24-hour scale. The second hand itself follows the same length of our minute hand and brushes atop those minute markers as well in the same fashion. What I'm saying here is that the handset proportions are pretty much perfect in regards to legibility, and they have been since the Gen 1 OK up through till the Atlas. The lacquered blue option of the Monta blue dial was the right choice. Not only does it further distinguish the Atlas line from the Triumph series, it does give this watch a dressier appeal. And while we're taking a look at that dial, the Loom on this watch is really good. It's not the brightest Loom I've seen before, but it's certainly consistent and lasts for a long enough duration for you to get a good amount of use out of this watch in most dim lighting conditions. Now, before I give my final verdict on the Monta Atlas, why don't we take in what this might look like on your wrist? It's interesting, the number one complaint I hear about the Monta styling from folks that are looking at the brand has to do with the hour hand that Monta chooses. The fact that it doesn't extend to meet the hour markers, obviously those that are enlarged, not the ones that fall in line with the minute track. Now, I personally like the length. You let me know if it bothers you in the comment section down below, if that's holding you back from getting one. But I think it makes sense to have it shorter and wider as opposed to matching the elonged minute hand. Now, here's what the Monta Blue Atlas will look like on a 7¼ inch wrist for all of your admirers. And when you are going to admire it, it's going to look a little something like this. And here is the Monta Atlas on my 7¼ inch wrist. And you know what? Why don't we just take this watch in for a moment? I won't bother saying anything. I'm sure a lot of you have had enough of my gushing, but I do want to clarify, though it is light on the wrist, it's not at all like wearing a titanium watch. You know, don't think it's going to vanish completely off your wrist. It's not anything like that. What I'm saying is you can forget it's there, though, with how light it is. And maybe I'm just accustomed to wearing watches with a lot more girth. But I find that I'm pretty clumsy when it comes to lighter watches on the wrist, and I have a tendency of banging them against things. Again, I didn't with this one, but I've done that with my Seiko Pogue, and oh gosh, I literally just replaced the crystal on that thing, and I had to, well, now I kind of have to replace it again because there's a scratch across it, but you know what? It's okay. It's my watch. You know, I'd never bang up someone else's watch like this prototype here, but this thing is really stunning on the wrist. Zero complaints. This is really the perfect Monta. That's right. I said it. And you know what? It's unfortunate for the brand because if you happen to buy this one, you likely won't want to buy another one of their watches. This is really an excellent piece from the brand, and honestly, the one I would recommend going for if you were buying into the brand. The Monta Atlas is truly the amalgamation of years of hard work from this brand. From its styling cues to their attention to detailing, this piece is really the perfect blend of everything that's Monta. From that crisp fold-over bracelet to the clipped lug tips of the case, the enlarged bezel reminiscent to the Triumph, and that dial that we've grown to love on the Ocean King and SkyQuest. This is truly the perfect blend of all things Monta. And the piece I would recommend to folks that were interested in the brand but didn't want to own another diver's watch or just another GMT. This is something really special. It's a nice mix between the Triumph and the SkyQuest and what folks have been calling a traveler's watch. This is the watch for that boardroom meeting, your next day off, or if you are a perpetual globe trekker. This is Monta's travel watch. It's pretty much perfect, unless you wanted something that didn't feature a date, and perhaps had a gilt dial, and a 60-click unidirectional bezel. Well, for that, I'll be damned, I really want to try that gilt dial Ocean King. And that's just it. They keep on putting out new and exciting offerings. And I own a Gen 1 Ocean King, but that new gilt dial time-only Ocean King, one word, If you enjoyed this video or found it in the least entertaining, feel free to hit that like button. It looks a whole heck of a lot like this guy. If you have friends, forums, or groups that are interested in picking up the Monta Atlas, well, feel free to share this video with them first so they can get another consumer's opinion on the watch. Also, if you're new to the channel, well, welcome. I do videos like this monthly, so feel free to slam that subscribe button if you want to be a part of the family here, and you hit the little bell icon just next to that to be alerted as to when my videos air. Again, my name is Patrick Marlett, and thank you for the time.